Welcome back to Ill Eagle Culture Brands Red Tape Talk. I'm your host, John Ostos, a.k.a. Ill Eagle CEO, and I'm here with my two counterparts, Dion 2-Cup Larry.
1 cup.
And Cody Big Meat Mauk. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
Nothing much.
Right on. And today we have a special guest. Cody's brought in another longtime friend, Dustin Hill, who is a former K9 DRE. And now you make custom grip
1911 pistols, 1911 pistol grips, and knives.
Awesome. So we're going to dive in a little bit, talk about, I guess, some of what you do and what you know, and see where the conversation goes from there. So welcome to the show, bro.
You got to tell everybody when we first met. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday, dude. Yeah.
Tell them the story.
This should be good.
So it's where most of my post-traumatic stress disorder derived from. Like, so, I mean, we talked about it when I was at Warrior Path about how bad it, so I'm fucking driving down. Sorry, can I start swearing right away?
Oh, yeah, brother, you're good.
We're not monetized. It's all good.
All right, because I am. Like, I worry about that shit. So I'm driving down the road, and I'm like, this fucking guy doesn't have his headlights on, right? Headlights are speeding. You were fucking hungry. I remember that.
Speeding.
I pull you over, and, like, before I even get up to the car, my canine dog's barking. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And, like, this glorious, naked, silvery, like, man trophy thing comes out the window, and I'm like, what in the fuck is this now? Like, is this like he was proud of it, like he was like the pussy eating champion of 1987, like it was like the greatest. Like, everybody he met, he was just like, do you want to see my trophy? I think it was like your first fucking trophy you ever won,
something like that.
And you were like, I have not eaten in 2 days. I need to go eat. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
And here's my trophy. I just got done with my thing, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
yeah, I remember when you walked up to the car and I was like shoving it in your face, and you just started laughing, and you're like, whoa, okay.
Well, it just escalated quickly, man. It was like this trophy with like pretty much a naked dude on top of it. I'm like, what is this all about?
So it was like my first bodybuilding competition.
Okay.
And obviously I was super pumped,
I was glad to see it. Like, it's good that he's succeeding,
So, but yeah, I was on my way to Econo Foods, which is a grocery store, to go buy a bunch of candy and stuff. start gorging on food, but
That's funny.
Yeah, dude. So Dustin, can you kind of just walk us through, when you first got into law enforcement, and walk us through that whole entire journey that you had?
Yeah, it's a long one. So growing up, I grew up in West Fargo, so I'm from the streets. I always tell everybody that I'm from the streets.
Streets, West Fargo.
West Fargo.
Did you graduate
North
from West
Dakota.
Fargo High?
Yeah, barely.
Okay.
Like, I got my GED, stands for good enough for Dustin. I'm just kidding. I graduated from high school.
Okay.
And it was a struggle, though. And so it was like either join the military or become a cop, because I had like a pretty good C average going through life.
Nice.
And I got into Alec Tech, so I went there for the 2-year program. And, like, I didn't settle down at all. Like, I had some growing up to do. And a week before graduation, I got caught fucking around. And so I ended up, like, being able to graduate. And I took my post license test, but then I had to wait like 2 years to get like my shit together. So I did some pipeline stuff and some directional boring, and I'm like, this is way too fucking hard. I will become a cop. I decided that was like, I'm not going to work for a living like that. Like, that's wild. Those guys put in hours. And I got hired in Appleton, Minnesota as a correctional officer. And that was wild. So
In the prison, right?
In the prison, yeah.
And that's where like all the hard timers are, right?
In Appleton, yeah. So what it was it was a private prison. So it would have U.S. Marshal inmates. It would have Wisconsin Department of Corrections, like gang members. They would bring in people from Hawaii. We had Hawaiian inmates, so we had a pretty big Hawaiian Samoa population. Which, like, you want to meet a group of people that fucking respect their elders. The Hawaiian people, there's no one better. Like, there's, like, the leader of their gang would get up in the morning and, like, prepare breakfast for their elders. And, like, there's a level of respect there that I've never seen in my life. So that was cool. Like, one of the cool things that happened. But then it was like, it was wild. We had, I was on nights, so you're in the middle of smack dab, like, Minnesota. There's nothing around you. So the people that they drew to work there were like fucking local people from Minnesota. So they were getting inmate gamed all the time. They were bringing in dope. I mean, they didn't know they were, hillbillies from Minnesota pretty much,
Sure.
And, these are hardened street guys that, like, know how to game people. So I ended up excelling pretty quickly there. I got on their tactical team, their sort team. You know, I talk about this story a lot, like my first forced cell move. They're like, hey, you want to get in and do a forced cell move in this ad seg? And I remember thinking, like, this is going to be fucking awesome. This is so great. And the more, like, the padding and the stab vest, and I'm putting stuff on, and I remember, like, we just got to look at it when we went through their CO Academy, and, like, Alec Tech does not teach you forced cell moves. So I was like, all right, what do we do? Like, they're like, well, just, you're going to grab the right arm. No matter what happens, grab the right arm. And I'm like, did we ask him to cuff up yet? Like, is there, like, I'm trying to come up with things that we can do first before we go in. And that lasted about 2 minutes. And then I was like, all right, we're doing this.
Did we try everything?
Yeah. Did somebody say please?
Yeah.
Like I have this commissary honey bun. Will you stop throwing your shit? And oh, it's fucking terrible, man. The guy was naked from head to toe, covered in his own shit.
Oh my God.
Yep. And throwing his piss out of the Sallyport door. And I remember thinking, man, I made a really bad decision. Like, what am I doing? And we went in and did what we needed to do and got the guy out. And then, like, it wasn't over after that. Then you got to stand there and babysit him while they shower him off because you gas the shit out of him. I mean, you don't fight fair in that situation.
Right.
You don't want to. And I remember thinking, like, God, there's a lot of piss on me and very little of it is mine.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a tiny little squirt of pee came out.
Yeah.
But, and then we just kept working. And I had one of the guys on our sort team was bringing in dope. They got rid of, I believe, let's see, how can I put this? So I'm pretty sure that one of the supervisors that I had was fucking an inmate and bringing in dope. And they ended up getting rid of her shortly after I left. But I remember thinking, like, all the times, like, on night shift, there wasn't a lot of us.
Yeah.
So they would move us around. And I remember, like, all the times that she would have me go, like, disappear and search a lockdown cell unit. And I remember thinking, this is dumb. Well, she's getting fucking railed. That's why. So, like, here I'm digging through inmate garbage while she's fucking taking dick. Like, that was pretty fucked.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's a really common thing in the prison.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah.
it's
Well,
fucking
you're in
nuts.
there. You're going to try. I mean, they call it going fishing. You know, but how long do you got to be locked up before, like, that 340-pound farm lady that's 50 years old starts looking good? You know, you got to be there a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Or just gangster as fuck.
yeah, I know. You're just like, I'm gonna fuck. Like, I don't care how it's gonna happen. You know, sexual assaults. I remember, like, when during 2000, like, we were worried, like, all the doors were gonna open, like, pop open, and I remember thinking, like,
Oh, for
the year 2000 when they
yep.
so
Y2K.
yeah, Y2K, and I was like, this is
I
gonna
didn't
be
even
my
think of
last
that from a
stand.
prison's
Like,
perspective. They were probably like scared shitless. of
yeah,
that,
I
bro.
was like,
Yeah, hell yeah.
so, you know, and like it was weird. It was like you had your own little dysfunctional family in there. Like, the town only had 3,000 people in it, and probably, you know, a fourth of it was correctional officers and their families, and then inmates' families, because inmates would come there, their families, and move closer. So then, excuse me, they would, you know, game the COs on their off time when they were at the bars or whatever. And, like, their internal investigator, that poor man had a full-time job. So
Could be tough.
damn.
it was wild. And that was, like, was just getting ready to marry my first wife. And there was a few. And so I had moved her down there into the middle of nowhere, like, and she didn't like that, and we were from Fargo, so she wanted to move back. So I got hired by Cass County in the jail as part-time temporary, and then they activated my police license in North Dakota. So then I had to go you know, take the written test and do the 2-week to test out, and that was cool. I worked for them for quite a while. Like, I think it was like a year and a half. It seemed like quite a while at the time. And then because of, they had, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan, I don't know which one was the one that the guy that had my spot before and the drug task force went away to, and that's how I got hired, like, pretty early on. Like, I had no street experience other than working in a prison, and that's, I mean, it's good for, like, learning how to talk to people, and, like, people that will fuck you up. I mean, you're gonna need to exercise your authority without like being Cartman and being stupid about it, to get them to do what you need them to do without fighting every single time. And so that tool was a good learning experience, but like, man, that place was just a den of iniquity. I don't miss that at all. There's a reason they shut it down. There's private for-profit prisons should be illegal in this country. It's just absolutely warehousing people for the purpose of collecting money.
Yeah.
And
it's a business for sure.
It is, and people's personal freedoms. I mean, you want to talk about like where true racism and true like just not giving one F about people comes from? Prison corporations. Like that's who are perpetuating most of this.
I can see that.
So
probably not much rehab going on there.
They had programs, they had inmate programs, but I mean, you're fighting against people that don't give one fuck about their life at this point.
Yeah. You're
You're fighting against the COs, you're fighting against the teachers, you're fighting against trying to sleep at night while somebody's screaming in the other cell. I couldn't imagine trying to sleep in that situation.
And then you're there for X amount of years.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was actually just listening to Rogan's just recent guest on. It was he was a prison reform guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he had him on there previously with another guy that was supposedly reformed. And that guy,
I just saw it. Yeah,
we
he
talked
just-
about it on this. Yeah, he murdered that guy and chopped him up.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
So he was not reformed.
He was not reformed, it
Yes.
turns out. And I feel bad for the guy because, like, he stuck his neck out for this guy, brought him on Rogan, and then a month later, this guy chops somebody up, puts him in his freezer.
Made a good show for Rogan though.
Yeah.
And like, hopefully that doesn't like turn people off for felons because, man, some of my best friends are felons. Like, I'll come right out and say it. They've been clean and away from the prison system for years, 20 years and on.
Right.
I've got guys that I like fucking hunted that are really good friends of mine now that, they've had their life together and it's like a part of their past, but they need people to like go, hey, you fucking made a mistake. You're moving on. We're good with that.
Yeah.
Like you paid your time. So, go ahead.
That's kind of why when I was listening to this guy, I was like, I could tell in his voice, like he was very hesitant to talk about it because I think he felt embarrassed and obviously really hurt that he tried so hard for this guy and then that ended up happening. And it does hurt a lot, if not all of his work that he's been doing from exonerating people, try to get these people out and helping them and stuff. So
I get it.
Yeah, you can only help people so much, though. I mean, they got to help themselves still. I mean,
yeah,
even if you're fixed, you're not always fixed.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's true.
But that's like I'm really hoping that we're kind of talking about psychedelics and stuff and how much that's helping the veteran community. We talked about it. We had Adam Martin on. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all. He runs the F5 project.
Oh yeah, yep. The F5 project, right?
So we were talking about like the importance of using psychedelics to get through some of the, the trauma that some of these guys have, it's been pretty successful in the veteran community. And I can but imagine what it would do for somebody that's trying to become a better person.
It changes lives.
Prison
It's
system.
yeah. And if they, getting away from pharmaceuticals and going to psychedelics, and there's been so many studies and so much success with it that it's just unfortunate that mainstream people are so indoctrinated. I mean, I look at marijuana. Like my literal job was hunting people for fucking marijuana.
That's crazy.
What a waste.
Yeah, what a waste.
Like in my 20 years or 19 and a half years, whatever it was of being a cop, I never once had to fight somebody high on marijuana.
Yeah.
But like alcohol, it was like
nonstop.
Every fucking time, man. Like every time you're fighting with somebody, they're drunk. Domestics drunk, abusing kids drunk, shit like that. So I saw more of that when the alcohol stuff when I got out on the street after I worked narcotics for those 4 years.
Yeah.
But those 4 years that I worked for the task force, that was, just shortly after Cass County, I went there and started doing that job. And man, that was a wild ride.
What was that like?
Wait, so you went from the corrections officer role, and then you went straight into being
Undercover Narcotics.
Undercover Narcotics. Okay.
Yep.
Right away.
Yeah, right away. Like
Well,
no.
shit, he had the training after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going from corrections, did you shave and everything? Like, were you all clean cut? And
Like I don't know if I could have grown a beard at that time. Like I was pretty young, man.
Very
Like,
young.
yeah.
So when you got into the undercover, did you change your appearance at all?
Oh yeah, I had like a fake ID with like a different name and a different driver's license and different everything, like a whole different identity. And what I did was we would use those identities for, like, I didn't live under that. I just lived under Dustin Hill.
Yeah.
But like when we did undercover operations, or if they borrowed me out to somebody, or if I went out to a different area, because the task force covered, I think it was 3 states, but it was
wow.
a couple
Is that big?
counties in each state. So
Okay.
it wasn't that huge, but it
Okay.
was, I mean, it was daunting. I mean, it's a big area to cover, a lot of counties. So it was easier for me to do undercover buys and undercover stuff like out by Oaks and like Delamere and those kind of areas. Because that was in the height of the meth lab epidemic, where everybody was cooking crank. If they could find a pop bottle and some batteries and some Sudafed, they would cook crank. So, during that time working undercover, we got certified to take apart meth labs, and we took apart meth labs. It was interesting and fun and wild for like the first 2 years because I had no idea what I was doing. They literally handed me like a bag, and I was sent to some training. I was sent to BCI school. I was sent to DEA school. But like initially they handed me a big black bag with like full of everything that you see on like Miami Vice for the most part, except like the Ferraris and the beautiful Cuban women. Like that, there was none of that. The closest thing I got was like a car chase with like a 1-tooth meth addict. Like there was no Ferraris, there was no shootout with tubs or none of that shit. But it was wild. It was a wild ride. We helped a few people. We made a difference in a few people's lives, and we broke a lot of doors. And we, there's so many stories that go along with that, of like things that 47-year-old Dustin and 27-year-old Dustin would do completely fucking differently, that would lend to a little bit more, and that maturity, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. So, we had a lot of experiences with like anything you could imagine. I remember we did a drug buy, and my partner was the undercover, and I was doing the surveillance, and we're up at the old school that used to be, I think it was like the old St. John's school right by the Simonsons there.
Yep.
And I was on the top floor videotaping the undercover buying dope. And this girl was thick. We'll just say thick.
Thick girl.
Thick. And she reaches down in between her, like she was in up to her elbow.
Oh boy.
And pulls out this bag that was supposed to be an 8-ball of crank. And it was fucking tied. Like I could see the power crystals in it. On the video, you can hear me going, "That's tied. Don't buy that. Like there's power crystals in there.
does
That's
that
not
mean?
crank." Like tied, like you wash your fucking clothes in it.
Tide
Yeah, that bitch fucking was scamming him. Like was
Oh.
selling him tied.
You could see that from way up there?
Oh, I had a camera. I was zoomed in. Like,
wow.
Yeah, he was right in the parking lot. So I was looking in like right through their sunroof. Like we had it set up. It was an undercover car and the whole spiel. So,
Yeah.
but
And what did he do? Like he looked at it, he's like, nah.
no, he was dumb as shit. He bought it. He had no idea. Like he was a deputy that got attached to the task force. So, he worked there. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
So yeah, and shit like that. Like it's still a crime in North Dakota to sell simulated drugs. It's just a little bit less of a crime, but it's still a pretty good crime. And I remember thinking like, that's all our buy money for the month, dude. Like we're not gonna,
no.
like that
So
sucks.
that's why you don't want it to buy the
Yeah,
tie.
because like, and the month before, I learned the lesson about getting rid of all the buy money because they had sent me to buy dope from a guy in Lisbon, and I think it was like my first undercover buy. So I went in there and I'm like hanging out with them, and we're listening to, I think it was like Cottonmouth Kings, if you're familiar with that terrible music. Yeah. Constantly for like 2 hours, I had to listen to that drivel. Well, like I'm just hanging out with them, waiting for the dope. And finally he comes out and he's like, "Okay, you're cool." Like, okay, we sat and watched Cottonmouth Kings, so I'm not a cop.
Oh, that was your
that was my test. Like if I
Okay.
could sit through that, and I like, man, this is terrible. Like, and he dumps all this dope out on the pool table that was in the middle of the living room. And I'm like, holy fuck. Like I was there to buy weed. It was meth and needles and like crank and mushrooms. And I shit you not, I took my right arm and I picked up the garbage can that he had by the pool table and I went like this and I put it all in the garbage can and I put $5,000 on the table and go, is that enough? And he's like, yeah, dude, you can go. Like, and so I come walking out with this and the undercover, like my supervisor's like, oh, what'd you get? Did you get an 8-ball? I'm like, fuck no, buddy, I got this. And I dumped the garbage can out in the bottom of the car. Like, and it was just like a cornucopia of dope. Like it was, and he's like, well, how much was all that? And I'm like, all the buy money. And you could see the look on his face of like, go from enjoyment to we're utterly fucked. Like we cannot buy any more drugs because there's a burn grant, or there was a burn grant at the time. I don't know what they call it now. But we only had a certain amount of money to buy.
Wait a minute now. When you did that, don't you go and arrest the guy?
No, because that would have blown my cover.
Okay. So just keep it going.
Just keep it going until it's time to bust him. Well, then the second time I showed up, I think he was like a little hinky, but he still did the deal. And then the third time he came and met me in Wahpeton, and we had an undercover car and we just busted him right there. So, I mean,
Did that ever get like the first time's fine. Like, how would he know you? You know, second time, maybe word gets around. You know, like, did it ever like occur to you, like, make you feel a little more anxious each time you had to meet up with them, or you were just like, there's no reason for them to expect anything or suspect?
No, because like I even worked undercover in a bar in Hankinson for a long time.
What?
Like, yeah,
You worked at the bar.
like so we were out doing surveillance on a house. And they were trying to get somebody into the Hankinson area for years because there was a lady out there that had younger kids and younger adults go out and steal shit from farmsteads. And then she would trade them dope for it. So she'd give them a list and they'd go out and it was like a farmer's market of dope. So they wanted to get somebody in that area. So we had gone into the bar and we're having a beer and shooting pool, like being undercover cops. And they're talking about needing to hire somebody. I'm like, hey, I'm going to college at NDSCS. I'm from West Fargo. I bartended. Do you want me to, like, I'd like to apply for the job. Like, you can start tomorrow. So I went and told my supervisor and he's like, that's fucking amazing. Now we got to figure out logistically how to do that.
Yep.
So they gave me a shitty little undercover car and I just drove that back and forth from Wahpeton and I was enrolled at NDSCS and I had IDs and like, I didn't go to NDSCS, but I was enrolled.
How long did that last?
Fuck, that lasted like, I want to say like a long time, probably 4 months, 5 months.
That's crazy.
I'm just working at the bar.
Working at the bar and buying drugs and like getting intel and like, and still working my normal cop stuff too. So we would like go do raids and, so we were doing a garbage pull on a guy from Hankinson. What that is like you put your garbage out and then we just take it and search through it. Once it's away from your property and off your curtilage or whatever they call it. And the guy caught us. So we were like driving away and we threw the garbage can at him. We had mass on his shit. And then the next day I served him in the bar and he had no fucking idea who I was. So that was pretty wild. Like,
No way.
yeah,
Oh
that was
my
fun.
God.
So we had some good cases come from that. But the only time I was ever like apprehensive, I was buying some weed, like, I don't know, 4 pounds of weed and a little bit of meth from some Mexican nationals in Dickey County. And I remember that's the first time I ever got like yelled at to for like these small town sheriffs, like telling them to go get fucked. Cause he's like, you should have called me. And I'm like, yeah, okay, next time. But I just got all these drugs off your, like from your community. Be nice.
Yeah.
Or I'm never fucking going to come back here again.
Yeah.
And that is not how they wanted me to address that, but good learning experience. But when I went there, the guys had arranged for me to just go in the garage and pick it up out of the cooler and just leave money in the cooler. Well, I go in there and everything is covered in plastic. The walls, the floors, the ceiling. Like, I don't know if they were going to dust me in there or if they were putting up sheetrock or what the deal was. But like, I walked in there and that was the first and only real time that I felt like, I'm not going to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, and I opened the cooler and the drugs were in there, and I'm like, well, that's a good sign, because they weren't going to give me the drugs if they were going to kill me. So I took the drugs, and I'd left my narcotics agent business card in the cooler. I didn't leave him money. And so that counts as a delivery. So then that place we went and hit right away, because like they were going to flee.
Yeah.
So, and one of them did flee, but the other one didn't. So
What happened with the Higginson? Did you end up getting those guys?
yeah, so I got I got a CI into this lady. And so if informants are like a terrible marriage that you have to stay in.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be with the person. You have to spend a ton of time with them. You don't trust them. Like, and they're trying to please you. So you always have to wonder, like, is this really some shit that they would do? Or are they setting this guy up for them? Or like, it's a constant, like a game of cat and mouse that you don't want to play, but you have to. And we got him in to her one day, and my partner and I at the time, like, I was never in the military, so like this was like playing army for me. We were laying out in a field with a ghillie suit, videotaping like him going in and like listening to him on the wire, and that motherfucker was in there smoking meth. So like, I'm like, God damn it. So we ended up, like, we had the guard raid helicopter down, like they flew missions for us, like the guard unit that was attached to us. We would send them like a request for operational assistance, and then they would come down and like fly surveillance for us, or they would pick me up and we could go do surveillance of the op in the helicopter with, you know, night vision and shit and their FLIRs and all that. So we actually had the CI ran out of there with the other target, and they just took off. So we just had the helicopter.
Oh, he ran.
Oh yeah, dude. He was high on meth. Like, he went in there, the first thing he did was light up a bulb.
Oh no.
So like, I mean, you can hear it plain as day, and I'm like, well, they're on my case. Like, we're fucked. He's high. So we ended up getting him on a traffic stop with a bunch of dope and the person he was with. So imagine being so high that you know that like he's wearing a wire still. Like, he's still, like, we could hear him the whole time.
While he was running?
Yeah, like while he got in the car and took off, like we could hear him, like, the farther away he got, it would be, and then you'd hear him talk a little bit, and that just made me madder and madder and madder. So at this point, I was like, crash that.
It was only one way, right? You couldn't talk to him?
No. If I could have talked to him, some words would have been had.
Yeah.
Crash the helicopter into that guy thing. I was like, I'm done with this dude. And a trooper ended up catching him for the helicopter, and, you know, because you don't just let people know that you have those out there.
Yeah.
And so the trooper got him, and then we ended up raiding the place, and we got our warrant, and it was like exactly what we thought. I still have the news article from it. We got tons of guns, tons of like stolen shit from like 150 different farmsteads or something like that. So it all paid off, but my cover got blown actually by a Richland County deputy who is no longer with us. Wonderful man, but heart of gold, but you know, $400 heart and 2-cent head. Like, my undercover car broke down one night when I was going home. So we made it look like I got arrested for DUI. Like, the people that I work for actually called the jail to bail me out. So like, they legit were like, hey, this dude's a badass, you know, or a dumbass, however you want to look at it. And so I was like, they arrested me. So now I got some street cred with them. And the deputy told the tow truck driver that I was an undercover cop and it was a state vehicle, so that they could save $75 on the tow charge. So my life was worth $75. And I went in and explained that to him. And like, the sheriff drugged me out of there because I wasn't nice about it.
Yeah.
Like, it was like you see on TV where the guy's just fucking like out of control.
Yeah. I mean, it makes
Blowing
sense.
the cover.
So, you know, that ended that operation out there real fast, because the tow truck driver's kids, like, the tow truck driver told his kids, and his kids fucking told everybody. So by the time I got to the bar, they're like, "Are you a cop?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, So then the next day,
That's
like,
shitty.
yeah, dude, it was a bummer. So then that next day, they, I had my supervisor call them into the department, and then I went in and interviewed him and explained, like, look here, I'm a cop. You guys aren't doing anything wrong. You were an unfortunate byproduct of my operation. Like, you were, like, you know, sorry, you're out an employee, and I'm not going to fill out a W-2, like, you know, that kind of thing. So, that ended that operation, but we still like ran CIs, and we were like the go-to guys. Like there wasn't SWAT back then. Like we were the guys. Like you had somebody barricaded in a house, or you called us. So it was fun. Like we banged a lot of doors. I have so many cop stories that were just out of pocket, out of hand shit that we did. Like working undercover, it was wild.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
The first 2 years it was a blast, and then like the things that I did and saw that at the time like had zero effect on me started like catching up with me, and it came fast. Like I managed to turn myself into an alcoholic. I passed out on like a church lawn, had to go to the hospital, and they like, you ever want to quit drinking? Have an angry old nurse that gets woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, harpoon you in the end of your dick with a fucking catheter. You will never drink again. And I never touched alcohol again after that. But I mean, it was hard living, man. Like
Was it hard because you had to sort of live a fake life in a sense?
No, it was, I think for me, it was the responsibility. Like it was everything that I wanted at the time. And I had no idea how to like quantify that I was living my dream. It was like, I'm young, I'm an undercover drug agent, I have access to helicopters, cars, like tactical gear, bugs. I mean, it was awesome, at the time, but it catches up with you. There was a few cases that like were funny, but they were like dangerous as shit. We were doing a drug buy in Lidgerwood, and we had a CI in the car, and it was me and 2 of our other undercovers, and then the CI. And the Richland County deputies had asked for help. A guy was shooting guns, and they were worried that he was barricaded in there, and he was a guy that they dealt with before, and suspicion of like automatic weapons and a bunch of other shit. So we rolled hard. Like we had like all the gear, so we were ready to go fuck shit up. And we look at the CI, and we're like, get the fuck out. And she's like, what? We're like, get the fuck out. Like, you live here, walk home. We need to go back these cops up. So we roll up, and the deputies are very happy to see us. So I hop out of my car, and they're talking about how they're going to do the entry. And I'm like, well, I'm going to low crawl up to the house and undo the light bulb. So I like low crawl up to this house. And as I reach up to like unscrew the light bulb, so like it's dark when we do our entry, one of the deputies gets in his squad car and like shines the spotlight on me and gets on the PA. Can you see better now? And I remember thinking like, I'm waiting for the bullets to just rip through my body because the level of stupidity of that. Like, yeah. And the guy's one of my best friends. He meant nothing by it, but there was no like operational training for those guys at all.
Tactical.
No, and us either. But I mean,
yeah,
you would think common sense would have solved that, though.
You would think, yeah. but so we end up hitting the house. We get in there. There's a blind lady in there screaming. We go in and clear the house. The guy that we were looking for had already taken off, but we found like the guns, and then he had one of these monster.
Wait, what are the odds of blind ladies in the house when they're putting you in spotlight like that and jeopardizing your life? That's crazy.
I don't know, man, but I'll take that blind lady over a cranked out meth head with a full auto AR every day of the week. Wild. Ma'am, how can I help you? You never go so quick from like, this guy's probably going to try to kill us, so we're going to have to kill him. Or, ma'am, please don't panic. We're the police. We're here to help you. Like, it'll be okay.
Yeah,
I know we just kicked your door in, but
yeah, that door it wasn't even kicked in. That door was done. Like,
bam! Do you know Jesus?
Yeah, because you're fixing to meet him. So then we were clearing the house, and one of the deputies is like looking under the bed, and I look under the bed, and he's like, "Why is there a gas can under the bed?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So I pull on it a little bit, and a whole bunch of tubes fell out, and I was like, "Oh fuck, meth lab, everybody out!" So we all run out because I thought he had like a meth lab in there, and then we were gonna gear up, and we had the full suits and like the spaceman suits and shit. And as we were walking out to like get our gear on, the deputy comes over and he's like, "Where was the meth lab?" And I'm like, "You didn't fucking see it? It was in that red like gas can that like had a false bottom on it, and it just fell out." And he's like, "Dude, those are cock pumps." And I'm like, "What the fuck is a cock pump?" I'm 25 or 6 years old. Like, man, the stiff breeze from the wind gets my dick hard. I don't know what a fucking cock pump is. Like, and he's like, yeah, it looked like the one's battery operated, and like he knew too much about cock pumps. Like short of going, that's model 23-7 stroke 9. Like, so that whole like you erupt with laughter because first of all, cops have a fucked up sense of humor. Yeah. You have to see it's like the military. You see shitty things, you got to make fun of it, or it's gonna fucking eat you alive. Yep. Yeah, the shit we saw, most of it I've never able to rationalize, but maybe like quantify it as like a learning experience. But so we were out checking the outbuildings of this place, and there was a room full of fuck magazines, like floor to ceiling, like porn magazines, every genre you could think of, from like girls with penises to very large girls with like anything you could think of. And so I come running out of the back room because I found one that I found amusing, and I'm like, look at this, you guys. And they're like, are you touching that with your bare hands? Oh. And I was like, oh, fuck my life. Like, this is awful. So for quite a while, like everybody was like, hey, you got your gloves on? Like for about a year, like everybody's like, you wear your gloves. And so we all learned a lot about each other that night. Like that's crazy. It was a super traumatic experience where you go from like, I'm going to die, but I still have to do this, to just dumb shit like picking up fuck magazines.
The guy that took off was who was in relation to the blind lady?
He was her meth supplier and boyfriend, girlfriend. She wasn't like a completely innocent, but like she was pretty fucking innocent. Like
I was thinking like that was the mom, and then the son's just like a porn addict.
No. It was an older dude. Like middle age to 40s, 50s.
So was he not home, or did he?
No, he took off. He escaped. It wasn't like he like ran out the back door, but he had shot, and then he knew the cops were coming, so he took off. So like when the deputies got there, they didn't know that he had gone, or they did, and they didn't like articulate that to us, So I think about the cock pump story. That's an old story, and everybody like it passed down like generations of cops. So that poor guy is not a cop anymore that saw that, probably for good reason. But it's wild, man. It was a trip.
I was gonna ask too earlier when you started talking about like meth and all that stuff. I'm from California. I grew up around all the drug game and shit. And in fact, my neighbors right now in Moorhead are total. They got a meth lab in their garage, guaranteed. They've been raided once, I seen, and somehow nothing's happened to them. But
because they snitched, dude.
Probably.
No, dude. If they're not in jail,
they got traffic, bro. Like all day, every day, they got traffic. And my neighbor works in, he does something in drug enforcement. And I've asked him before, what's going on there, and he hasn't really said much. But I'm sure he can't.
No.
But anyway, I was gonna ask because I've heard this, growing up, this has been like the consensus about meth heads is that when you bust meth heads, they always have some crazy sex toys and dildos and all kinds of wild shit in their trunks and their cars whenever they get busted. And what's the deal with that shit? Like, why have you guys ever?
Every single fucking house, we call it the dildo drawer. Okay. So we have,
but it's dudes. It's dudes that get caught with bags of dildos and shit when they're on meth. It's weird.
Yep. So, methamphetamine is a vasoconstrictor, so it like tightens up your veins so you can't get blood flow to your dick. So they have the sex toys to try to help that, and they use the dildos to like massage their prostate so their dick works. The only reason I know this is because I fucking ask. I'm like, why do you have this? And I mean,
I've never heard this explanation. This is
it is. It's like every time, like there's a really good story about a drug agent after I'd gone to the PD. So I was already gone, and they raided this gal's house that we'd busted 1 billion times. And she's like, you fucking Dustin Hill, you're in my dildo drawer again, aren't you? And I wasn't even there. Like she's so methed out that she thought that like we all looked the same apparently. Like, so it was pretty awesome. Like she was pissed, but yeah, every house that we like, there's always pocket pussies, and we hit one guy's house over in Breck, and I went first. We breached the door, go in. I went left. A couple guys went right. One guy went down the stairs. And I get to the back of the house, on the north side of the house, and there's a locked door. And I like bang on. I'm like, open the fucking door. And I've got one of the city PD guys that got attached to the drug task force was behind me. And we opened we breach the door, break the door in. And the guy's in there from head to toe covered in jelly, just rocking his cock with a fucking pocket pussy. And we lock eyes like you and I locked eyes right now. Yeah. And like for a minute I was in his soul and he was in mine. And that was the most terrible experience of my life because God, I'm like, grab him, fucking grab him. And he's like looking at us, jerking his cock, looking at us, like trying to finish because he knows he's going to prison. And like, that's his last place that he's going to like bust one out. Yeah. Right. And I remember thinking like, of all the places to jack your cock, like that is a terrible time. Yeah. So
that'd be like running up on Cody's house on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, like at like 3 PM. Yeah. So yeah, and it's just wild stuff like constant strap-ons and like everything that you can imagine.
That's so strange. I've always seen that. I've always heard the buzz talk about it. When you watch Cops and they bust meth heads and shit.
That's
they got
why
fucking backpacks full of dildos and fucking, and then colored pencils and random shit too. It's just like, what the fuck? Like you do art and fuck yourself.
Exactly. Like, yeah, they always have notebooks of like songs they write and they're terrible.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. What a fucked up drug.
Yeah. And it was weird because like while I was a drug agent, we also did investigations. So like I would help with, I know 2 murder investigations for sure off the top of my head. One out in Hankinson where the guy killed that gal with a frying pan over like a stereo and like a case of beer or something. And they were friends, but he was drunk and beat her to death. And I remember like working that case. And then there was a 12-year-old that got shot by his stepdad. And then he had also shot his mom, but she lived. And I assisted with that case. And, countless, like, if the counties that were in our task force had, like a warrant they were going to do or a raid or something, they would always call us. So, I mean, we were busy. Like,
that's crazy.
Plenty busy running all over the place. So.
Did you, there was a couple of murder-suicides around that area too, right?
There was. I'm trying to think.
There was a girl that used to work at Sporty's, I think, as a bartender, and she was dating this guy, and they were running from the cops, and he ended up shooting her and then shooting himself. I can't remember what her name was.
I don't remember that one off the top of my head, but like suicides, when I got to the PD, man, there's like nobody prepared me for the amount of suicides I was going to see. And like the fucked up, like one guy sealed his lips around a short barrel shotgun, and the pressure from what I assume, like I'm not a ballistics expert by any stretch of the imagination, but you put a short barrel shotgun in your mouth, like your head's going to be gone. And I remember walking into this room and like there was meat dripping off the ceiling, and like we got the guy in the bag and got like try to clean it up as best you can for the family. Like so there's lots of victims from that. There's the guy that killed himself that obviously made a permanent solution to a temporary problem. The families, and then you have to conduct the investigation, and people don't think like, what about us? Like I picked up human brains of people that I like see on the street every day. So that was hard. Like I remember my partner at the time, like reaching down, he's like, oh God. I'm like, how much fucking worse can this be? Like, what could you have possibly found that would make this situation more terrible? And he's like, oh, the brain. And it was a completely intact human brain.
No way.
Yeah. It like the pressure had like pushed it out or something. Like it was not like his head was gone, but the brain was full or like solid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it appeared pretty fucking solid to me as far as, whole. Brains aren't solid, but it was whole. So,
that's crazy.
When you have, kids that we had a real, like an 11-year-old girl commit suicide. I had to do that investigation. There's just like fucked up shit. Like one guy had hung himself and he'd been there for a couple days. So we cut him down and like he just stood there because rigor had set in. So the rope was like cut, but it was still sticking straight up in the air, and he was like still sitting there. Like, and I remember thinking like,
that'd be creepy.
Like, how do you gently push somebody over, you know? Or like the unattended deaths where people become couch soup, where they're in their house for like a week and they just become stew.
Oh.
Like, I mean, and then you go right back to work. Like, I remember my chief one day walking in, he's like, "Here, Dustin, smell my jacket." And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and he laughed and he's like, "Yeah, that's dead guy." Like, so, I mean, you know, you get a fucked up sense of humor, but it's a survival mechanism, because how do you go in and talk about that with like another person that was just there, and you just kind of look at each other and go, "Are you good?" And neither one of you want to fucking talk about it. So you're like, "Yeah, dude, I'm good." And then you go sit in your car and scream and cry for 20 minutes in a parking lot somewhere, and then fucking gag it back down and go back to work.
Yeah.
Like, so.
That'd be tough.
Would you be able to talk about the Andrew Slaubaugh case?
Sure, dude. So I'm the one that found him.
Okay. These guys probably don't know who that is.
Okay, so
kind of just
it's still an ongoing investigation, and I'm not part of that ongoing investigation.
Whatever you can talk about.
Yeah. So, my understanding is he had gotten caught with some dope, and they flipped him, but then like he double crossed them, the cops. So then they put a warrant out for his arrest. So you got to realize that everybody's pissed off. Oh, it was over marijuana. Well, look, we're police officers and it's state fucking law. We don't get to pick and choose, you know, oh, it's a college kid, or so is it okay that I arrest a poor kid with a different ethnicity than I have for this drug, but I can't arrest a farm boy from the Jamestown area? Like it's equal application of the law.
Yeah.
So, you know, his parents were fucking terrible to deal with. I mean, constant motherfucking the police on the news and suing them, and it's like, we're trying to help. So I'm on the dive rescue team still to this day, and I was also the canine officer at the time. So I spent a lot of time looking for him, because there were some things that he did that would lead us to believe that he had taken his own life. And in my training and experience, and through what I saw with my own eyes,
because he went missing.
And
correct. There was video surveillance of him coming out of the dormitory
correct.
at like 1 something or whatever. Yep. It was early in the morning. He went missing for a couple of days. Then you guys went to search for him.
Yep, we searched for him for like 4 fucking months.
Yeah.
When was this?
This was in May of 2014 or something like that.
And he
Yeah,
was
somewhere in
selling, like prior to that?
He what?
He was selling.
Allegedly selling,
Allegedly?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. No conviction yet. I mean, obviously. So
And then you caught him, flipped, or they caught him.
I didn't
they
catch
caught him,
shit. Yep.
Flipped him, and then he switched up on him,
Yep.
and then all this occurred.
Yep. Then
Okay.
they just issued a warrant for his arrest. Like you fuck around, you're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, got it.
you know, you're given an opportunity where, like, you go in and work for these guys, and you snitch and you own your bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna hang it in your ass. Like, these guys have to sleep at night. We live in that town. None of us. I never worked with an officer in that community that I felt didn't love their community. I worked with some officers that didn't give a fuck, but they cared about the community enough where they weren't going to go out and fuck up and hurt people or cause problems. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so we looked for him for like 4 months. Yeah. And then we had one of the deputies and I, who kind of like started the dive rescue team, were like, well, why don't we go run training on the river and see if we can find him? And so we did that, and I found him in a coulee, like where a tree had come out, and so that's where he was.
Was he submerged or
Kinda.
Yeah.
So the parts that weren't, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it was awful. And and then you have the media there, and the family was really shitty to cops, and I get it. like you lost a loved one, but none of us went into that with like ill intent or a bad heart. Jason Weber, the case agent in that, took the brunt of that. Like for years, it pretty much destroyed his career. He ended up running for sheriff and not getting elected. And that's a stain that'll be on his soul forever. Like he was a great dude, destined for great things, and it got fucked because the community doesn't understand that bad people do bad things because they smile and they get cleaned up and they look like they're cute or they look like kids or whatever. People come out of the woodwork to like, oh, he doesn't look like he would do that. Tell me you're fucking racist without telling me you're racist. He doesn't look like he would do that. Okay, well, what should he look like? And there was tons of that. And it to this day, you can see like my whole demeanor change because it pisses me off when I talk about it. I spent 14 hours that day with a deceased young man, regardless of what he did. I didn't care. I was working that investigation like a cop because I wanted closure for the family. I wanted I wanted a conclusion to this for me and the officers. And obviously I wasn't the one that conducted the investigation, but like I was there. Yeah. I was there working right alongside him while we did it. And that was all volunteer. I did not get a dime for that day. Mm-hmm. And I think about that every day. Like that is one of my biggest regrets is that, as a cop, you're not able to defend yourself to the media. And that probably takes a bigger toll on officers and people than like I can fight somebody all day long. I don't give one fuck about that. Like some I'll win, some I won't. But like I know what I'm up against going into that situation. I know what my training is and I know what I'm going to have to do to exercise that arrest. I can't go on social media and like tell people that, in my opinion, I don't appreciate like just the nonsense. Like everybody's like, oh, he was killed. He fucking wasn't killed. Knock it off.
So was that the stuff that they were saying, was that all BS or?
Yeah.
So like, did he not have in the back of his head?
That's an ongoing investigation. Okay. I can't tell you, but it wasn't in the back of his head.
And then I'm assuming he put rocks in his backpack to try to submerge himself.
Correct. Yep.
What was the deal with the car? Did you? Where was the car found? Do you remember that?
I think it was still at the dorms. Okay. I'm not positive.
So they said that there was like water in the spare tire compartment or something like that.
It's nonsense.
Okay.
See, it's crazy because like a lot of things could have been avoided if the parents would have just said, hey, you know what's best now is you turn yourself in, like just suffer the consequence of your actions and things can get better.
Yeah.
And unfortunately he lost his life.
Did he have priors?
I don't believe so. I'm not positive.
How did he get mixed up in all that?
So I'm saying that sucks.
Shitty life decisions, dude.
Yeah.
Huh.
Don't sell drugs to people on cap. Like don't commit a double A felony. He wasn't trying. He fucking was.
Organization going on, or his own little mini organization.
Yep.
But why not just go to jail? Like
I don't know, dude.
It's not the same. Like when you're in the heat of the moment of that shit, and you think you're living the life, you're getting away with it. You've grown up in it. Whatever it is, you get lucky if you make it out, man. Yeah. It's not always just a decision you get to make and shit. Sometimes you have to have like different circumstances that give you the opportunity to make a way out. Otherwise, yeah, man, you just we could look back, people who have survived that and been like, hey, I'd have lived a crazy life, made some shitty decisions, and it's no big deal. But someone could live that same life as you and not make it out because those shitty decisions led to death or, some kind of crime or who knows what, man, where they're in prison. Like all my family members, bro, in and out of prison their whole lives. Yeah. Some of them dying that way. So yeah, it's just the way it works, man. It's the game.
So it's of your opinion that he did it himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's been a thing that's been.
I get asked about it all the time
for a long time.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that really, I mean, it happens, but when it happens in your community, it's kind of shocking.
Well, and you don't want so marijuana has from the time of that case Correct. To now, has completely changed.
Yep.
And how officers view it, how I view it, how the communities view it is completely different. But at the time, it was a big deal. Now imagine like you're a mom and you know that your kid smokes weed and you see that this happens to like a young kid at college and you think, oh, these fucking cops, like that's not the case. Like you're selling drugs on a campus, on a fucking school campus, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
So if you think, that was the biggest thing. Well, why is this illegal? Why is this my fault? Go to the senators, go to the legislators, figure out what to do to make it legal then. Their officers are enforcing fucking rule of law. It's not like they opened a book and like, today we're going to make this law up. Mm-hmm. So, don't do crime or get better at it.
Yeah.
And don't fucking do it on a school like campus. Like you're very,
that's even worse, right?
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that. Like if you're gonna, I had an old criminal one time tell me like, you don't do two crimes. You only do one crime at a time. Cause if you're fucked up and you're selling drugs, that's going to get you caught. If you're just selling drugs and you're doing it as a business, you're not going to get jammed up.
Yeah.
If you're driving around with your headlights off and you got drugs in the car, that's two crimes. Mm-hmm. Don't do something that's going to draw my attention. Like we're cops in that area for a reason. Like we're not the FBI, right? So if you don't like trouble and bring attention to yourself, we're not gonna fucking bother you. 97% of the population of Wahpeton didn't need us because they fucking followed the law. Speeding or parking tickets or what, like that shit isn't making a difference. You're generating revenue and I won't get into that, but like most of the population doesn't need us. It's that 3% that continually cause problems and continually are in and out of prison.
Sure.
And are continually in and out of jail. And they just don't learn. And so obviously incarceration isn't making a difference. So what do? We, as a community, we need to figure out how to unfuck these people, or at least, I hate the word harm reduction because that just basically is enabling, but we got to figure out a way to like stop the cycle and stop this generational trauma from passing on to there's kids that I arrested their grandma, their dad, their mom, and then them. Like that could have been stopped 3 generations ago or 2 generations ago. And so, we need to, as a society, look at ourselves and say, what are we doing without enabling for our most, I hate the word marginalized, but like you're an addict. So I'm an alcoholic. So I'm a sober alcoholic, but I have a better understanding of addiction than a lot of people do because I saw it growing up. I dealt with it in my own life. My mom passed away after I became a PD officer. She actually passed away in my old task force area. And I remember Sergeant Appel and Bill coming to my house and telling me my mom was dead from like drinking and pills and overdose in the back of some shitbag's car. And so like I get addiction. It's a sickness. I get it. But we need to, would putting my mom in prison helped her? Well, it would have kept her sober for that amount of time, but like as soon as she got out, like, hopefully that she would have got help, but it obviously didn't happen. So
Dustin actually, he was one of the cops that busted my party. Do you remember that? In my apartment?
I have no recollection of any of that.
I had
party.
like 30 people in this like 1-bedroom apartment. And you were like shocked on how many people were in there.
Yeah, dude, you were fucking in there assholes to elbows, man. Like it was, you couldn't have wedged one more girl in there.
Yeah.
I am impressed with the guy to girl ratio though. I appreciate that.
I hung out with all of the dental hygienist chicks and
every single one of them in the program from what it looked like that day. Yeah. Like, did they put up a flyer? Like when you're done with class, come on over to Cody's. We'll try to get everybody in there.
Good teeth, come this way.
Yeah.
Like it literally reminded me of like the Volkswagen Beetles when they just keep fucking ramming people in there and like, come on, get in there. We'll get 12 people in there. Like it was like that.
Dude, the best part about it was that when you guys knocked, we saw you coming up.
Yeah.
When you knocked on my door, like they tried to hide. And I'm like,
Where are you going?
It reminded me of a
single bedroom apartment.
A little kids when they try to hide when they're like, okay, you can't see me now because their eyes are shut. Like it was like that.
I was like, okay, you guys got to go. Like,
yeah.
Anyways,
That's funny.
Dude, how much shit is at the Starlight Hotel, and how is that place still running? That's what I want to know, because that place has been there ever since I've known like it's existed. It's still there. But you guys know that like the Starlight Motel is one of those. It's single level.
Yeah.
The doors coming from the outside.
Wapton?
Yeah,
It's like a motel.
and it's like on the south side of town, but
Yeah.
it's just a shitty rundown hotel. Okay. Do you guys get any calls out there at all?
When I have no idea now, but
Now,
but when I work there, fuck yeah, dude. Like we're
All the time.
Yeah,
'Cause
that
people live there like full time, right?
yeah. And you know, it was the people I think who have it now are actually pretty decent. I think they work with law enforcement, and it's more of a like long-term stays for construction workers and shit.
Sure.
So they cleaned it up
Cheap
a little
living,
bit.
yeah.
Yep. Okay. But like that whole trailer park, like the Southside trailer park, was nuts. We had that one drive-by shooting.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And
one of the guys. Yeah.
And then one time we got a call over there where a guy was like suicidal, and we knocked on the door, and I knew who he was. So like I went in there first, and he's like, I slipped my wrist, Dustin. And he like went like this, and it was like Spider-Man, but like instead of webs, he was like shooting out blood. And I was like, just put the fucking knife down, dude. I don't want to shoot you. Just stop. And I remember thinking like, I'm going to fucking get AIDS from this. Like, it's like in the air. It's like everywhere. Yeah. And so we got him calmed down, and we didn't have to shoot him, and we like got him some help. But yeah, that's Southside. And then the guy that actually did the drive-by shooting, I think they found his head like in a border town with Mexico. Like he didn't pay back some shit he was supposed to pay, so they killed him.
We were actually talking about that a lot. Is there a lot of cartel activity down there?
Not so much. We had cartel activity touch the town. Mm-hmm. You know, that shooting up in Grand Forks that had some of our kids from Wahpeton were involved in that. I think a kid from your class, like and some other kids.
He was in my brother's grade, but yeah.
So that eventually I think was
he flipped, right? Like he went to prison and
I don't
turned CI, didn't he?
I don't know if he snitched or not.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny that because I honestly don't know. Yeah. But once that stuff happened, like our hands were like washed of it. Like you don't get to, like the feds took that, and the feds don't tell us anything. Sure. So, which I get. Yeah. Like it's a small town, people talk. But I mean, that touched a lot of people's lives. And one of the guys from that case is like a fucking great dude and like one of my best friends. So, I mean, that's a testament to like, if you're going to get into law enforcement, treat people with respect, because you never know when you're going to end up dealing with them. Like, and that, the way I treated people, like saved me a lot of times when I fucked up, because the community never called for my fucking head.
Yeah. Because
they knew that like I went into it with a good heart. I made some mistakes, but like all the times I was suspended or written up or whatever, I just fucking wore those as a badge of honor. You know, you got guys that'll go their whole life and just not make a decision. And that drives me nuts. Like, fucking make a decision. It might be wrong, but make a decision.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we had like the fingers of small cartel sect, but I didn't see it, or not that I could talk about, you know, that type of thing.
So how long were you a police officer, and when did you retire? Did you get full retirement?
So what
Can you talk about how that?
Yeah, dude, I'll talk about how that transpired.
You went to task force, and then you went to
regular street cop.
Yeah, so I worked task force for 4 years, and the PD was hiring, and at that time I had quit drinking like for about a year and a half, and like had my shit together pretty good. I was going to get married a second time to a social worker. I think it's Sarah. She went to school with you, didn't she? Or a little ahead of you, Sarah Barton?
Don't know her.
Okay, well, she's my kid's mom. Anyway, so her and I were getting married, and I went to the PD. And so I was with the PD for 14 and a half years. During that time, I had 2 canine dogs. They had me work with dogs because I can't work with people. I'm not you're getting like social Dustin right now, but for the most part, like I'm not like this. And things started to take a toll on me when I got to the PD. Suicides, day in and day out of like just everyday stuff. I had Trista Martin, that gal that got stabbed 17 times. Like I was working that day, and I remember like pushing her guts back inside her, and like
Was that Mr. Wolfgram?
Wolfgram, yeah.
Dude, that blind bastard. This kid in my class, literally, his glasses were like fucking binoculars. And this kid he was very smart, but one of the most quietest kids that you could possibly ever imagine. And it's one of those, like, you never think that you would see his name in the paper. One day I see it in the news. This kid stabbed his girlfriend, right?
No. So what had happened was he lived downstairs in the apartment, and he was like, he was pissed off because she was being loud and talking on the phone loud. So, and this gal and I obviously are pretty good friends now because like I pushed her guts back inside her and she's still alive.
She lived?
Oh yeah, she fucking lived, dude. Like I saved her fucking life, man. I got like,
you weren't just exaggerating.
no,
Okay.
she got like 17 times and I pushed her guts back inside and waited for the ambulance. Well, and then like it was like right after I think I was coming off of like my second or third suspension. And so I was like,
That's how you know he was a good cop.
decisions were made, not good ones. And you know, the sergeant that I was with at the time, he's like, she's dead. And I remember thinking like,
Wait a minute. So did he bust down the door and just was like,
oh no, sorry. So no, she came outside and she was talking loud on her phone. It was above his apartment. Like his window was open.
Okay.
So he came down and like, I think he asked her to like, I'm not sure if he asked her to be quiet, but previously he had, and she told him to shut the fuck up or something like, you know, you do like, you don't think the guy that looks like the
Whitey.
corner.
Me, myself, and Irene.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
The white guy.
Yeah.
The really
Yep.
white. Yeah.
Yep.
That's him.
So he stabbed her like 17 times and like broke off. They recovered a portion of the blade from like her skull. And then she had a collapsed lung. And like I was talking to her, I'm like, you're going to be fine. You're not
What
going
did
to
he
die.
stab her with?
Like a pocket knife,
Okay.
but like a Gerber type.
Yep.
So he stabbed her so much and there was so much blood that we had to call the fire department to like hose down the street.
Oh my God.
Because it was like everywhere. Like it was thick. And so like I got my sergeant's like, Dustin, she's dead. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. She'll be fine. Cause like she was like, you know, gurgling. So like she was alive. So I, you know, my heart goes out to her because can you imagine living through something like that and going to bed at night
Yeah, no.
I fucking go to bed every night, close my eyes and think about it. I can't imagine her.
Yeah.
You know? And no, she fucking lived, dude. Like they saved her and
That's insane.
yeah, I got like a little plaque for it and shit. Like it was kind of a big deal.
That is awesome. I mean,
Yeah, the family, like they didn't tell me I was gonna get like these law enforcement awards or whatever. And I think I was like gonna go on another suspension and they're like, hey, can you come over to the Eagles? And then they like did a big presentation and the family was there and like shit. And so that was cool, like getting to see like, you know, she lived. But I mean, her life now is hard. Like it'll always be hard.
Yeah. And
I think he got like, what did he get, like 14 and a half years or something like that? It wasn't a lot. I mean,
And that when was that?
I'm terrible with dates, man.
Yeah, me too.
so
I
where
wanna
did
say
he
like
go?
10 years.
He was like, fucking, I'm out of here after he stabbed her. And
No, he went back inside and like got in the shower with all his clothes on and everything and showered off and then went back to playing his fucking video games. So I'm sure he's watching us through that window the whole time.
yeah,
Like, can you imagine stabbing somebody 17 and a half times and then sitting in your house watching the cops come and shit?
she's dying.
And
Just the game on pause, looking out the window.
literally, like how
fuck.
fucking, what a psychopath.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
And so then me and the investigator at the time knocked on the door and we ended up hooking him up and bringing him in. And so
How'd you guys know it was him?
she told me who it was.
Oh, she was
like,
okay.
like one of her gurgling
Yeah.
things. She's like, my basement neighbor. Like, and like fucking pointed. Like she's a fucking true OG thug, man. She is a fucking tough lady.
Wow.
So,
damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, she's super, super cool. Like she made like law enforcement hero leggings for my wife with like my badge number and shit
She's
on it.
still
Like,
in town?
no, she lives in like Texas or some shit under a different name. Like, well, I get it. Like,
Oh yeah.
Texas is a state I pulled out of my ass. I don't think she's in Texas, but like, you get what I'm getting at.
Where did he go?
Prison,
Which one?
North Dakota.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's
Somewhere.
still in or got out, or he might have got out, but
I hope not.
yeah, I don't know, dude.
That's crazy.
Before you get into your retirement stuff, can you tell these guys? I brought it up before, but can you tell them about Bailey Bernstein?
So yeah, so when I was a kid in West Fargo, like this is starting to sound like a Trump story where he's just trailing off, but when I was a kid in West Fargo,
Go the weave.
yeah, no shit, I
He's
had
a real kid, not a little kid, big kid.
yep.
Beautiful kid.
Beautiful, wonderful kid from West Fargo. Had a hard time learning. Anyway, so I fucking struggled in school, and I wasn't cool, and I had fucked up both my legs and had to have casts on both my legs, and people would pick on me and shit. But like Bailey's dad was always cool to me. He was always like, he played sports and like he was just a big dude and a quiet, gentle giant. Like I never in my life heard him say anything negative. Like if you had to like pick a man that you like, I don't think he even swears. Like he's just a kind man. And so jump forward to when Bailey was killed. Bailey Bernstein and her mom were walking along the road, and Chad Olson, who's now a convicted piece of shit, so I can tell him he's a piece of shit and he's convicted for killing her. And he pled guilty, so it wasn't like he accepted full responsibility for it. And unfortunately, in the state of North Dakota, like the average range for plea agreements for that situation where you're drunk, he hit her, drug her like 22 feet.
Hold
or
on,
something.
before
Yep.
you get there, explain exactly what they were doing, what time it was, and all that, because I think that's important.
So it was at dusk,
Okay.
and that's my understanding. It was dusk.
Yep.
So, and they were just walking by the airplane park on 11th Avenue South.
Yep.
And like it wasn't even the same side of the road that like they were walking on. And he came around the corner and hit her and then drug her in front of her mom until she rolled into the ditch. And
he never stopped.
no, fuck no. He went home and parked his car in the neighbor's driveway.
And she was just in shock, I take it.
The mom?
Yeah.
How the fuck would you be, dude?
Yeah.
He's fucking lost her fucking mind.
Yeah.
Like,
So he did this for no reason.
no, I don't
didn't
think he
know
did it
them or nothing?
intentionally. I don't think he fucking even knew it. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, he was hammered. So, he ended up taking a plea agreement for 4.5 years.
That's insane.
And so,
How
And there's
is
dudes
that
who
possible?
got marijuana charges.
That's what I'm
longer
saying.
than
Like,
man.
how
That's
is that
fucking
possible? I
nuts.
So
don't understand
crazy.
that.
do you want my theory on it?
Yes, we're all about theories
I'm still
here.
like,
That's what we do.
We've talked about this. Like, there's guys out there that get 3 times the amount of years for lesser crime, and this guy killed somebody, and he got 5 years.
Yep.
So how?
So Megan Coomer and I are friends, the state's attorney for Richland County.
Okay.
She can only, if she would have taken that case to trial,
Mm-hmm.
he was found guilty, he still probably the judge would have only given him 4.5 years.
Is that because it's North Dakota? Like,
Correct. So if you're a legislator and like everybody who drinks, like
It's like the pedophiles.
like you worry about like, could it happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't want to push stricter laws or stricter. So by the time it gets to the judge has case law standing that, okay, in Fargo, the lady that hit a guy drunk got 4 years.
Yeah.
So, and this has been going on for years and years and years. And Chad Olson's attorney and I are really good friends. Like, he's a great attorney. He's a great man. He's doing his fucking job. And the
That's
same
gotta
thing.
be hard to separate. No.
I don't know, dude. I couldn't bring myself to be a defense attorney for all the money in the world, because I think I would like
hurt
No,
some
I'm saying
people.
for you, that's got to be hard, isn't it?
oh fuck yeah,
I
dude.
get it.
Yeah,
I get
dude,
that
it's
he's
fucking
doing his
hard.
job, but that's got to be hard to try to.
Oh
separate.
no, I don't have any problem with that at all. Like, I'm friends with tons of defense attorneys. It's a job. They don't blame me for being a cop for bringing them to jail. I don't blame them for defending them. Like, I have the ability to separate that, because
Good for you, because I don't think I could.
it doesn't bother me a bit, to be honest with you, because I know who they are. Like,
As a person,
as
for
a
sure.
person, I know who they are. Like, I know where their heart is. I know where they're.
I totally get it. It would be hard for me to.
No, it's more hard for me seeing that, like, the judges give them 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Megan's hands were tied. There's nothing she could. She was damned if she could do, damned if she didn't. Like, imagine having to tell the family that the best case scenario for a case is 4.5 years. Like, how do you, like, it had to make her sick, because she's a great person and she does a great job.
Yeah.
But she has only at her disposal the tools that are given to her by the legislature, by North Dakota Criminal Code, and by case law.
So say they gave him like 8 years, he would have the ability to go back and sue or overturn, however that would work, because there's not been a case where the same thing had occurred. Or like, why is it that we're not upping the sentences for
I have no
real
idea.
crimes?
I don't have the answer. Why do we have people convicted of marijuana possession still in a prison when we have people like that are out and about? The judge gave the answer that the prisons are so full, they have to let somebody out to put Chad in.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so who do we pick? Well, I can think of, if you go down like what people are in for, you know, the pedophiles, fuck them. You can leave them in there. Like, you can gas them. I don't care. And then that'll open up a lot of room. People are like, you can't talk about killing. Fuck that. Like, they fuck kids. Fuck them. They're broken. They're not repairable. Studies have been shown they're not repairable. They serve no purpose in society.
They're sick in the head.
They're sick. I mean, we had a sex offender in Wapton that like constantly fucking pushed the line and like fucked with like his registration and fucked with calling in when he was supposed to. And for a while he was homeless, so we had to check on him every night. And the guy was just a piece of fucking shit. Like, I would go to work and be like, I have to go talk to this fucking guy. You know, and that's where, like, you want to talk about like hard to like swallow pill. You know, in a perfect society, he would have been hung in the city square and you'd have been done. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so continue on with your retirement story.
So I had some things. You know, I saw some shit, and like all the officers that I worked with saw shit.
Yeah.
At the time, even in the last 4 years, how law enforcement addresses mental health is significantly different than it was. They had I was having a rough day. Now I can look back and realize that I was having a panic attack, and like I was like shouldn't have been at work. So I told him, I'm like, I need to not be here. Like, I can't be here right now. And I had been taking a ton of time off. I was like, I just couldn't handle seeing any more shit that day. That day I needed to just be gone. And the sergeant that was on duty is one of my good friends. But he was new and had no fucking idea how to deal with people. And he cracked a joke, and that wasn't the fucking day. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you. And I unclipped my fucking duty belt, and I laid it on the table, and I took my badge off and slid it and said, I'm taking the canine dog, and I got in my car and went home. And that was my last day.
Whoa.
So like, you know, you talk about like turning in your badge and gun and riding off into the sunset, like, sounds cool and shit, but like it was a shitty end to like, it wasn't how I needed to be done. Like by this time, like my business was fucking taken off and my mental health was as bad as it probably ever was. So I needed to not be there. And I look back now and I feel terrible, like, because it put a lot of officers, you know, they had to work overtime. They had to fill in the shift. Like, I wore a lot of fucking hats. Like, I was a drug recognition expert. I was the canine guy. I was the go-to dive rescue guy. Like like if you had any questions about dope or like his CIs or anything that was going on in town, it was me. Like they would come to me and tell me, like, people would call in all the time and be like, I'd only talk to Dustin Hill. Like, you talk to my sergeants that I worked with, and it just used to drive them nuts because they'd be like, I'm only going to talk to Dustin. So like, how do you, like, I didn't tell him to only talk to me. Like, I didn't fucking want to talk to him. Like, I just wanted to drive around and be left alone, dude. Like, so they were super cool about it. They didn't know. I mean, they've never had anybody do that. Like, how would they respond to that? So they let me retire with some dignity. Like, they were super cool. Like, I love those guys and gals for that. Like Chief Thorstensen and Sergeant Anderson, who's now chief, and Sergeant Appel, who's now assistant chief. And the sergeant that, I don't know, I don't want to say his name because I don't want to like make him uncomfortable, but because he's still working. But like, I mean, I care about those people, so it was really hard for me in that aspect. But man, you want to talk about like dumping out your rucksack full of shit and walking away and feeling good. Like, my wife was not fucking happy about it because, we were just starting in my business and we had just bought a kennel, and like there was a lot of shit going on, a lot of moving parts. And now all of a sudden, like, I'm like, oh, we don't have that $68,000 a year in insurance anymore. I had a kid to take care of. And my wife is a police officer. So that was, it puts her in a shitty position. So, but yeah, that's what happened. That's the full true story. And then, so I was still struggling. And, if you ever want to do a show about me motherfucking North Dakota workforce safety, I would love to come in and just spend the whole day talking about what pieces of shit they are. And if I had their names, I would out them, because how I was treated after serving my community for fucking 20 years, and the blood and the guts and the death and the fucking molested kids and the fucking rapes and the, like, fuck you. Like, that's what I got. Fuck you. So I'm like,
Why what is it about North Dakota safety?
They fucking denied my PTSD. Sorry, they denied my PTSD disability claim.
Wow.
And they're like, well, what specific incident made you upset? And I'm like, I'm on the phone, and my wife just watched like
my entire career.
Like,
are you kidding me?
No, dude. They fucking.
What year was this?
This was it 5 years ago?
That's
5.5 years ago. So, and they're like, well, you can maybe get a percentage of your retirement if it's going to take about 2 years to get it. Like, they play games. Like, they'll fuck with you. Like, look, my whole life, I would, like, even talking about it, I get fucking just irritated and choked up a little bit. But like, I gave every single thing I had, like, missed birthdays. Like, I remember leaving my daughter's birthday or a birthday party of a family friend to go fish a dead 19-year-old kid out of the river. Like, all the things that I missed and all that I gave, and that's how I'm repaid. And they're like, yep, that's the way it is. Like, I remember I got punched in the face one time and they didn't want to pay out for my glasses. They said that wasn't issued equipment. Well, I need to have them on to see who the fuck I'm shooting at. So it would be a good idea to, maybe cover it.
You couldn't have the job without them, I bet.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Or like, I fucked up my leg and all the paperwork, and like they tried to deny that, officer from Bismarck that had a heart attack on duty because he used tobacco. Like, they're just fucking dirt merchants, man.
That's crazy.
Like, if you could pick one governmental agency where you should just fire every motherfucker working there, that's a place. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, for real.
But so then I had, in like North Dakota PERS, I had my like 19 years of paying into it, because I rolled over the prison into, like, I had a 401k or whatever the fuck it was. It was like $46 or so. It wasn't like a vast fortune. And I rolled that into my county when I went to Cass County, and then into the drug task force, and then into the city. So it was all the state retirement. So on my last or my second or third rejection from North Dakota Workforce Safety, I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. So I called North Dakota PERS, and I'm like, how much is it going to cost me to take all my money out? So you want to talk about laying all your fucking cards on the table? I cashed out my retirement, every fucking dime, and I paid like a $14,000 penalty or something. It was more than that. And so I took that money and I put it in a backpack, and I went to Alaska to either make it or die. And that's how I met John Reeves. So I knew of him through like some Instagram people, and I had made arrangements to go up and buy a bunch of mammoth that we use for mammoth tusk and tooth that we use for our stuff we make. And so I fucking gave Lisa a bunch of money for bills, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go up here and I'm either going to make it or I'm going to kill myself up here. And that was like the first time.
Serious at that?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question in my mind. I wouldn't say that like aloof. So I made it. Like I was still, I still, none of this stuff, like, you know, jumped 2.5 years ahead where like my fucking shit's been on Joe Rogan. Like
Yeah, hold on. So you met with John Reeves.
Yep.
And you guys became friends.
Yep.
Right?
So I actually initially met one of John Reeves' friends. That's who I went up
for anybody
there.
that doesn't know who John Reeves is, he is the guy that owns Boneyard, Alaska. He has all the mammoth tusks, and I think there was even a saber-tooth tiger or something.
Yeah, they find out all kinds of shit up there. It's wild. It's like the most magical place on earth.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's super cool. And so,
and it's just like tons.
Yeah, tons. Like, and they're going to restore all of it. Like they're going to put it all back together and create like an entire mammoth village or something. But that's what I'd like to see them do. I don't know if they're going to do that for sure or not. But so I had gone up to meet a guy named Chuck Leek, who his Instagram name was Mammoth Mogul, because he knew like all the Inuit villages and all the people like would find the stuff and bring it to him, and then like he would help broker it out to people. And so I went up there and I was like, he picked me up in like an old Studebaker. Like it was like something out of a, like, oh, I'm just going to get on a plane and go make my fucking way, you know, in the world. So I bought as much mammoth as I could at the time. And then I ended up buying like 2 tons of it with a buddy of mine, Parker Sterling, who him and his dad own Sterling Mineral Imports on they're fucking like true adventurers. They're like super cool people. And so we went in on some more mammoth together. Like if you come to my shop, it's full of, like, there's a ton of mammoth in my shop. So I had come back, and then I got more mammoth shipped in, and then we started building our business off of that. But while I was up there, Chuck Leek had introduced me to John Reeves, and like I don't know if John saw that I was broken. Like he's an extremely intelligent man of a few words. But he kind of just always looked out for me after that. Like he was just and just from a chance encounter meeting, like it changed my life. I mean, how do you, like I'm from Wahpeton, or literally Wahpeton, North Dakota, like a town of 7,000 people. And me and Joe have our shit on Joe Rogan, and we make shit for porn stars and for musicians and for fucking, like, it's wild.
Yeah. So when I ran into Dustin at the grocery store, he was showing me these texts. He's like, hey, he's like saying that he needed to do an express mail of a pistol grip because Trump was going to be on Joe Rogan that Friday.
Golf ball markers.
Was it?
Golf ball markers.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Okay. I thought you were making a custom pistol grip for him.
No, fuck no. He can't, like, he's still convicted. Like,
yeah. I was thinking about that. I was
yeah.
I was wondering if that had something to do with him not showing it on there. But yeah, you had to do a rush order for him because Trump was going to be on that Friday. And there was rumors that he was going to be on Joe Rogan, and everybody like kind of suspected it, but not for sure. But sure enough, he showed up there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he did the weave too much, so he didn't get to bring up.
He got him though, is my understanding. So that's cool. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. I mean, how do you, like, it's nuts.
That is nuts.
Man, that's awesome.
Where's your shop located?
Wahpeton, North Dakota.
In
like,
Wahpeton.
Yeah, I bought the old Machine Design Incorporated building, that 7,000 square foot yellow building out by like the dog kennel or the dog veterinarian and shit. So,
oh yeah,
they're still cleaning it up. It looks like if you were a tweaker, that would be the place to go steal copper, but we'll get her cleaned up.
Yeah. Did when you were done being a police officer, did you keep the K9? I don't know why I'm stuttering so much today.
That's all right. It's because I'm pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I got to keep my K9.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, they were super cool about it. I'd had Gypsy forever, and they knew that if I didn't have Gypsy, I'd have eaten my gun. Like that dog kept me on this earth along with my daughter and wife. But like, when you're in that headspace, like you don't know, like, I don't know how to quantify it with like words. It's just, you don't think right. I don't, you get this in your head that like you're better off like not being around people because you're broken. it's like, you can't talk about that shit to like, you know, explain to your kid that, you know, the things that have happened and the things that you've done or seen, and you feel like there's no other options. And so it's a dark place to navigate. So, I was very fortunate to get out of that, obviously, because I get to make cool shit. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was a pretty dark tunnel for quite a while.
How do you keep yourself level now?
So I actually, about a year and a half ago, give or take, my buddy Ty Ranke called me up, and Ty is a cop in South Dakota. Ty is from Wahpeton. Mm-hmm. Guy, if you look at him, like, he looks like, he's just a tall, unassuming guy. Like, he's very like a gentle giant, but he's a bad motherfucker. So some dude hit him in the head with a machete, and he like shot the dude, and then rescued a bunch of people from the apartment that like the guy had lit on fire before that. And so Ty was a little fucked up, and he had gone to this program called Warrior Path. If you look up bouldercrest.org, it's a program for first responders, police, and military, and they have different split up programs. And Ty had gone through it, and it like changed his life. And it gives you tools to use to like get out of that mindset. And, you know, my favorite saying from that is be present where your feet are. So like when you're in that depression, or for me anyway, I was always thinking about like other things. Like you would smell a smell and it would instantly like take you back to an incident, or you would see a thing and it would take you back to an incident. Like, so I was struggling, and I wasn't like struggling well at all. And Ty called me up, and he's like, "Hey dude, you should probably go to this program. It was really good for me." And I'm like, fucking stupid. Like, I don't need that. Get the fuck out of here with that. And then one day I was sitting at home, like, for no reason, just out of the blue. And I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to kill myself. I don't want to live anymore. Like, this is terrible. I can't do this anymore. So I called Ty, and he like called her name is Shannon Strope. And like, every time I say her name, I'm like, God bless this woman, because like, I'm not an easy animal to wrangle to do things that I don't want to do, or to do things that are going to be uncomfortable for me. And I like talked to her on the phone, and it was the first time that I fucking cried. Like, I don't cry. Like, I don't know that I'm capable of it, to be perfectly honest with you, but I cried. And I remember thinking like, okay, I'm going to go to this place for like 8 days, and I'm going to like play the game so that my wife and my kid and everybody just leaves me alone. And then like, nobody wants to get committed, because like, I mean, it's not like you're running around the house with like a gun in your mouth or anything. Like, they want you to get some help. And so I was like, I'm just going to go play the game. And so the whole time, like, and I've talked about this on other podcasts, but like, do you remember the movie Get Him to the Greek?
Yeah.
Where they're like, they just want to get this wild motherfucker on a plane. Like, they don't care how they have to do it. They just got to get him on the plane. And like, Shannon made the arrangements for me to fly out. It's in Italy, Texas. It's in the middle of nowhere. And it's just 8 other people who have seen some things. So like, they have different programs. Like, the military guys like have a military based program. Your trauma is different than my trauma. It's still trauma. We don't need to put one or the other on a shelf, but we don't, for the most part. Like, I didn't have to do anything because of orders, or because like you couldn't get me to do shit. Like, so that, like, I didn't have that trauma, but I had some other shit. And like, I tried everything I could do to keep from going there. Like, I tried to start shit with my wife, and she's like, "Oh yeah, whatever, you can be pissed at me in 8 days when you get back from the fucking Grippy Socks factory. You know, you go there and build puzzles and talk about your feelings or whatever." But like, it was completely transformative, man. It changed my fucking life. Like, I'm driven now. Like, I'm a good dad. I'm a, depending on who you ask, a pretty decent husband. Like, I can engage. Like, I don't hate people anymore. Like, I don't have like I don't have a cloud following me around, if that makes sense.
I mean, you're on here.
Yeah. And I'm talking about it. Like, and it's like, the reason I do that is not so people are like, oh, he's broken or whatever. Like, I want motherfuckers to know that like you can get out of it. Yeah. Like there is an option. Like you can win at this, beat it. And so, Boulder Crest saved my life. Like, you know, Shannon, like I'll mail her a fucking Christmas card every year. And I mean, we're in touch pretty frequently, and quite a few of my, the guys that I went through the program with are like, we talk every day, and we have an app that they send you home with that, like you can go on, meditation app, or like if I'm having a shitty day, like, you know, we talk about like the misery slide where like, it's almost fun to be like, I don't want to say fun, but like you get so used to being like in your own head about like, oh, woe is me, that it starts to become something that you look forward to. Mm-hmm. And you want to go down this like victim slide where you're like, okay, I'm broken, so I get to act however the fuck I want to act. Well, and that's just excuses to have shitty behavior. And so this program, man, like, it was great because there's no doctors, there's no pills, there's no psychiatrists. Like, I tried going to fucking psychiatrists, and when I got out of the PD, they had me on like 8 meds. So I was like a fucking zombie. Like, and nobody wants to live like that. Like, you know, nothing works when you're on meds like that. You can't work out. Your dick doesn't work. Your fucking brain doesn't work. You're just, you're not existing, or you're not struggling while you're existing. So,
correct.
You know, and they gave me tools to understand, like, you know, when we got there, like the first thing they do is like address some of your core shit, like your childhood. Like, okay, so what made you want to, what fucking terrible thing happened in your life that made you want to do this terrible job?
Sure.
Because like the I want to help people shit, and the I want to, like, that's gone after week 1. Like, you stop. Like, you want to help people, but like, that's not a reason to stay in that kind of job. Like, you gotta have something like hardwired into you to be like, I want to go from calmly sitting and talking to my friends to a car chase with a crazy meth head while they're jacking off and throwing shit out the window. And like what are you thinking? Like, who would wake up one day and be like, you know, I really want to deal with all of that. Like, I want to go see kids that are 4 and 5 years old that got molested. I want to go see dead babies. I want to go see suicides by people that I know and like see all the time. Or, you know, I want to get chastised by a family and totally victimized, and everybody, because they're upset that their kid made poor life decisions. And now it's my fault. Like, I had a lot of anger and a lot of angst from that. You know, and then just seeing that, like, we had a judge that used to say, if you swim in dirty water, you're going to get dirty. Well, that's true. Like, you can't touch all that chaos and all that hate and not have it like rub off on you a little bit. So, you know, there is no end to the inhumane treatment that man treats other men, or man as in people. You know, they don't teach you that in the academy, that like you're going to see things that like you had no idea even fucking existed. And so that program addressed that. And then like the food there is like, they have chefs come in, and it's just you and like 7 other people that have like seen shit that you've seen. And so it was super cool to like, you know, you're not alone in like the way that you feel about things, and finding out that there's other people out there that have like seen that. And, you know, I was like, oh, I was just a cop in a small town. I didn't see that much. I don't want to go. Like, I wasn't a badass, or I wasn't well, fuck, dude, define badass to me, because I think we covered it. Like, the things that like, fuck, I'm here. So, that was cool, getting to like see people not put their trauma up on a shelf. Like, oh, I did this, so I did this. Like, there wasn't any of that. Like, everybody just like fucking cared about each other. And it was great, man. They had like a professional, like, Nashville artists come in and like write a song with us, and like they're like horses, and like there wasn't any of this kumbaya hugging shit, or like, I mean, it was just like, you address, you know, the things that you wanted to address you know, I went most of my life like, well, still this day, you know, things that you want to hear from like your dad, or, you know, I don't know what your guys' childhood was like, but like my dad was non-existent in my life. And for me, every day, like it made me driven, and it's what made me who I am, like my drive to like succeed, and it's paying off. But you know, you get to address all that core value stuff that like you wish you had. And so it's a great program.
That's awesome.
Yep. So completely changed my life.
I hope that there's programs like that all over the country eventually.
They, you know, and they do travel all over. Like they have a great program, and I've sent a few of my friends there, and a couple guys that should go aren't ready. And you know, if you're a female and you're in these situations, you can go with the guys group, but like they have a female group. So like, I don't know that I would have been comfortable with some of the disclosure stuff that I went through, like the personal stuff that like you talk about that like happened to you in your life. I don't know if I'd have been able to do that with like a female around, and I don't know that they would want to disclose things with me around. Yeah. You know, because like I'm inappropriate constantly. Like I don't have that filter between my brain and my mouth that says don't say pussy or like, you know, shit like that. Yeah. So it's just a great program.
Yeah, it's good that you're able to share that with other people, because so many people see examples of how to not get out of that, and so it's not as much of the time you get to see.
I just didn't want my family cleaning the mess up, dude. Like it's like, you know, like I remember thinking like that kept me going a couple times, like
because you've had to do that shit
yourself, and I don't want them to ever go through that. Like, you know, and I know officers that I knew from other jurisdictions that like drove out of their community to commit suicide because they didn't want to like their guys to see it. And so, you know, you always have that in the back of your head. Like, I don't now, but like at the time, like, oh, where could I do this? Like, where would be a good spot? So yeah, pretty heavy stuff, but like it needs to be talked about, because it's not, you earn that. Like, wear it as a badge of honor. You're screwed up because you fucking help people. You're not broken. You're not like the old shell shocked. Like my grandpa raised me, and he was always like, don't be a pussy. Don't be like, you know, like, so.
Damn. That's crazy. Good stuff, man. I'm glad we got you on. That was a good story.
That was cool. Not what I expected, but you shared a lot of good stuff, bro.
I knew that he was full of stories. Yeah. So
I got a million fucking.
Yeah. So now you're doing this. You're making the pistol grips and all that stuff. So you have a good sized company going now and having some good success with that.
Yeah, we are. So I had about. God, Joe's been with me now for like 5 years, but he managed, my brother-in-law, Joe, is my business partner. Okay. And he had managed Borrowed Bucks for many, many years here in town, the bar. Now it's like Sickies or some shit right over here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he during COVID, then they shut down bars, and the business sucked. So he quit and went to work at like a computer place, DAC Tech, I think, or something. But he loved the people that were there. Like, he's still friends with them, but like, cold calling people about computers was not his like, right. And he like knew I made knives, and like we were friends. Like his wife is my wife's twin sister, so he's like, I want to make knives. I'm like, come start tomorrow. Like if I like could give advice to anybody, it's going around the internet, but I loved it. So this is not my saying, and I don't remember who said it, but it's like, burn all the boats, burn all the fucking bridges, burn everything, because you don't want to have that safety net. Like that's what kept me going, was like, it's truth. I got to feed my fucking family. I'm going to make something of myself. Like, I walked away from a career that like I was respected at, and I worked hard at, like, and I quit. And now I understand why I quit, but like, it was a driving force for me to not be a quitter. Like, I was raised to not be a quitter, but like, the alternative to that was fucking suicide. Yeah. So, burn all the bridges, and Joe's like, well, fuck it, let's try it. And man, it's paid off. He's a prolific knife maker now. He's doing great. He's a great grip maker. He handles like, so as you can tell, I'm not a finance guy. Like, just from listening to me talk, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking when it comes to bills. And he's like, can I see your P&L sheets? And I'm like, what the fuck's a P&L sheet? He's like, your profit and loss sheet for what you put out and what. I'm like, we do that? He's like, it's not like, I'm like, I have this pile of money.
So you're a true born entrepreneur.
Oh yeah, dude. I had no fucking clue, man. Like I was
you trial by fire.
Yeah. And it was like, what a ride, you know? And I try to tell people, they're like, oh, you know, you did so good. And you're, man, I just showed up. Yeah. All you got to do is get out of bed. Yeah. That's 95% of it. Get the fuck out of bed. Yep. Just show up. You're going to be tired. You're going to be hungry. You're going to want to quit. You're going to have customers tell you you're a piece of shit and a criminal. And then 2 minutes later, they're telling you they love you. Like, it's, man, navigating customers, like going from being a cop and how I dealt with people to how you deal with customers. Like, you can't do that. You know? Yeah. So Joe was like my calming goat in that aspect. Like he saw like what needed to be filled, and he like runs that place, dude. I just go around and shit talk on the internet and make guns. So
that's sick.
Yeah. So we started making our own 1911 pistols under the Briquette name, right out of Wapton, North Dakota. So if you buy one of our 1911s, it says Briquette, Wapton, North Dakota. And I had gone to a school, Bob Marvel School of 1911 hand fitting and building. He is a world-renowned 1911 builder. He's probably got more information and things locked in his head than like John Browning. I mean, he is the guy. Older gentleman, super nice. And, you know, we kind of hit it off and became friends while I was there. And like, I got to see like his personal shop and like all his like prototypes and things that he's built over the years. And, you know, if I can teach anybody anything, it's like, just shut up and listen. Like, there's a time to talk and there's a time not to. And the most that I've ever learned in life, which is hard for me to shut the fuck up. Like, I mean, like, I don't know that I've taken a breath since I've been in here, but like, if you can just shut up and listen to old guys that like know their shit, you will learn so much. And just things not to do. Like, learn from their mistakes, like learn from things that they did, you know, and getting to see like just slowing down a little bit and like listening to your hands and listen to your eyes and paying attention to what you're doing. You can go a long way. So, and that's where we got kind of some, I don't want to say street cred, but like, that is the guy to go to if you're going to learn how to build 1911s. And then while we were there, he was like, you have the nicest grips in the world. And I'm like, if I could have paid somebody $1 million to say that, and I could pick the guy, it would be that guy.
Nice.
So that was pretty fucking cool. So, super good dude.
Awesome.
And yeah, so things are going really well.
Do you guys have a website?
We do BurkettCustoms.com, BURKETT customs.com.
Cool.
And
How
then
about social media or anything like that?
Yeah, social media. So we have Instagram. You have to type in, because I sell guns and knives and shit. Like, you can smack your pussy with a spatula, but I can't show you a set of gun grips on fucking Instagram. So
it's true.
It's true, dude. I'm fucking bitter about it.
Yeah.
Like, you can ram yourself with a dildo that looks like a fucking octopus hand, but your arm. But I can't show you my gun grips that I made out of an animal that's been dead for 15,000 fucking years. So you have to type in Burkett Customs, like all one word, before it'll come up. Like, I can't.
So you're like shadow banned.
Oh, huge, dude. Yeah. And we have like 11,000 followers, and that's like my third fucking account or whatever. Wow. But so we have a huge following. I mean, a pretty decent sized following.
For sure.
And, but I'm shadow banned so bad that like when our stuff was on Rogan, like our website, like everything was sold off our website, but like Instagram, like, I think I got 7 new followers out of that because I'm like, you fucking motherfucker. Like,
people couldn't find you.
Yeah. Like people always ask if you could fight one celebrity, it'd be like Mark Zuckerberg. Like, I would visit hate upon that man. That like,
he's training for that though.
Yeah,
that's right.
Say,
fucking let him train. We'll make a day of it.
Hell yeah.
So least I can do is bleed on him. Nobody wants that. Like, you know, but I'm fixing to fucking, like, it sucks, dude.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, it's Briquette Family Custom Knives. And, I mean, you can follow me I'm verified. If you want to follow me on Facebook, it's just Dustin Hill, but that page is just me just shit talking like the daily news and the internet.
Nice.
So
I do enjoy some back and forth about the Daily News.
fuck them, dude. Like,
Dude, it sounds like they're pretty yeah.
in my dude, fuck them.
Yeah, I'm friends with Mara Ponko or Mara
Porter. Yeah.
On there. So
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, it's disgusting, but whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good shit, man. Great episode. I appreciate you being here. It did dawn on me. I think you meant burn the boats, not burn bridges.
No, burn
That's a
the
whole
bridges
nother thing.
too. Just
Really?
fucking burn them all.
Okay, yeah.
Fuck 'em.
Burn everything.
Burn everything. Like leave, just throw a torch.
Leave
and
no
be done with
retreat.
it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Why would you? Like you've like you're there. Like the biggest step you already took.
Yeah.
Like you're there. You're at the precipice of fucking success. Why go back? Because things got a little hard.
Yeah.
It's like you jumped over this mountain and now you're upset because the grass got a little bumpy.
Yeah.
So yeah, burn it all.
Yeah,
I absolutely burn every fucking thing that you need to.
Yeah. The term burn bridges in business don't really go together. I was like, I know that saying, but burn the bridges is
burn
probably
all
not
the boats, burn all
best
the
advice,
bridges.
but
yeah, the
fucking
saying
it
is
all,
burn
dude.
all the boats, but you know, I think of the times like there was, you know, 3 of us working in my little 2-stall garage, and we had to go get a CNC machine, and like I could afford the CNC machine, but I couldn't afford like having it shipped. So I borrowed a Ziggy's truck and a big flatbed trailer, and I drove all the way to Portland, Oregon, and picked it up.
Damn.
And I've never hauled anything. Like I'm not a fucking trucker. Like,
Yeah.
and straight through day and night, just driving. And I remember like staying in a hotel in some shitty little part of between here and there. I don't remember where it was, but I pushed the desk in the room up against the door, and I laid with my head on the backpack and like with my gun, so that like I wasn't going to get like shot up, or, you know, it was like a Starlight Motel place. It was like the only place that was open, and I couldn't be awake anymore. So yeah, dude, like you got to go all in. I mean, so
I slept at an Airbnb like that one time. Not related, but
probably the same fucking
dude,
place.
I was like, it was in Minneapolis. It was like during COVID time.
Oh fuck.
It was brutal. There was like 3 entrances to my bedroom that I was sleeping in. I said, Nicole, there's no way I'm gonna get an ounce of sleep tonight. Like, there's no way. I just can't. Like, and the front door said "do not use," and you could like see a straight line through the side of it. I was like, "Fuck this!" Like, this is the last place I want to sleep. I'd rather sleep in the car.
Yeah.
Like,
That's wild that they were even on air.
it was insane. I didn't pick it. I would never.
Yeah.
Airbnb kicked me off when I tried to book an Airbnb for my family reunion a few years back. They kicked me off because they did a background check on me from a record that I had like 15, 20 years ago. And then, so my wife, they canceled my account. When they do that, they cancel your account. And I even disputed it, and they wrote back, like, nope. I'm like, what the fuck, right? So then my wife goes and books it. Well, because the credit card was the same, it was like a matching credit card, they canceled her and kicked her off of Airbnb.
Oh,
too.
jeez.
Crazy.
So then we had my sister book it because it was a family reunion. So we're like, we'll just send you the money. You book the Airbnb. So she did it. They fucking kicked her off too.
Damn.
It was the crazy because it was all connected. They were like, you're related to or associated with somebody who has been kicked off of Airbnb due to a criminal record.
That's insane.
It's insane. So Airbnb's trash, bro. So the fact that house was even on Airbnb is trash.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I felt so uncomfortable. I was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
But
Good shit, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Dustin.
Thanks
Real
for having me
story,
here.
Man. I love to hear everything that
fun.
you went
It
through
was
and
great.
that you pulled through it all, man, and you're here today.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. We appreciate you. Everybody else, don't forget to like, subscribe, share the channel. Tell your friends about us. Don't tell your friends about us. Talk good, talk bad. Doesn't really matter as long as you're talking about us. Peace.